think you guys are ready to have the conversation about being so poor that you literally couldn't afford to get to an on-site job interview if you got one. 2.5. That's how many years I've been unemployed.
2.5 years unemployed. So before we'll go deep dive into this video, I do want to state that I feel for this woman, because 2.5 years unemployed, that is rough, very rough. I mean, you're borderline trying to fight for your life at that point and not be homeless. So let's keep that in mind.
4,000. That's roughly how many job applications I've put in. 60. That's approximately how many interviews I've had. 4 interviews went the full cycle, from recruiter to final interview. 3. That's how many job offers I've received since December of 2022. Well, Melissa, if you received 3 job offers, why are you unemployed? I'm so glad you asked. One was a teaching position so far away that it would have cost me more to commute than I would have earned. The second...
My thing is, why would you apply if it was so far away? Unless it was just not disclosed on the website. Because the commute would have to be so far for it to actually cost more to work there than what you'd be earning. So I don't know if I fully believe that, but we'll continue.
One was fraudulent, meaning I talked to real people. I went through the entire process and signed an offer letter, only for them to ghost me and for me to realize that they were simply data harvesting for all of the exercises I did for them, and they wanted me to send them a check for equipment. That company later put a warning on their LinkedIn profile. The third one was to be a recruiter, only to be ghosted and find out from a LinkedIn post that the hiring manager who interviewed me made, congratulating the new hire, who was a college student, no tea, no shade, but they had only ever done an internship.
So she's going to get into, I would assume, the injustices of what she feels, which are fair, absolutely fair. That last point that she made, that the job that she interviewed was basically given to someone that had no experience, only had an internship. And I'm going to assume that this woman has years of experience just based on appearance. I could be wrong, but that's something that we have to consider, right? If you are a millennial that's in their 30s, going into their 30s, and you're searching for a job and you're looking to quit your job, thinking that you're going to have access to jobs because of your experience, I have to ask you to pump the brakes real quick. Because think about it, from the perspective of a company that's wanting to form and shape their corporate culture, would you take someone that left a position that maybe has 8 to 15 years of experience in another corporate culture, or would you want the person that is completely new to the corporate culture that you could shape and form into what you want? That is a serious question you have to consider, because if I was in that position, the person that would more than likely be easier to deal with, or that would be the person that has no experience, that would be the person that is ready and willing to essentially conform to what the corporate culture is I'm trying to create. Now that might sound, a little tyrannical, and perhaps it is, but that is corporate culture. That is how corporate America works. Companies that are, huge, that are Fortune 500, whatever the case, they want their employees to follow a certain model, right? And you can participate in that as an employee. No one's forcing you to do it. Or you can choose to do your own thing, to be a freelancer, whatever the case may be. Unfortunately for this woman, it appears as though, whether or not that she was laid off, she was fired, or she left her job, she is struggling to find a position to give her work. I mean, she's been struggling for the past 2.5 years. And so I want to learn more. Let's get back into it.
I have 18 plus years sales management experience.
18 years of experience. That is a lot. That is a lot in corporate America.
Specifically in tech, in SaaS, in cloud-based software sales. I have 2 master's degrees. I'm currently a PhD candidate. Well, why don't you just get a job, doing something you don't want to do until you... Shut up. I can't get a job at Trader Joe's. Do you know how many people apply to Trader Joe's on the daily? I asked the manager at my local Trader Joe's, what their experience was in terms of hiring. They have applications just backlogged, and they get at least 6 people that walk in the store every day asking for work. Oh, well, why don't you get professional help with your...
Okay, I do have to say this. I do have to push back. Or if you're in this position And you use that excuse of why don't you just get a job at Trader Joe's, and then she obviously says she can't because of the huge volume of applications. Well, there's more than just Trader Joe's as an option. There's tons of places out there, whether it's in hospitality, whether it's in restaurants, whether it's in, grocery stores, that will hire you. I really have to press in and say, if you are in this position and you're making the excuse of, I can't even apply to a Trader Joe's or a grocery store, hotel, restaurant, mom and pop shop, whatever the case might be, that you are being put in that position, I'm like certain, I'm positive, if you were to go try and find jobs in retail or in any of those types of places, you might not have the best pay, you might even not have great job security, but you will be able to get something, right? I worked when I was in college at Ross as security at the front door. And yes, it was a job that I absolutely despised, but it did what it needed to do, which is help me pay rent, right? And so no matter how much experience you have, sometimes we're just put in positions where we have to humble ourselves, and we're really having to humble ourselves if we have 18 years of experience, PhD candidate, if we're putting ourselves in this woman's shoes. I just find it very hard to believe that you can go 2.5 years unemployed with that much experience. Yes, the job market does appear to be very, very weak. However, where there's a will, there's a way. But let's continue to talk. I'm not going to completely write this person off.
Don't. I've got 8 different resumes. Keyword optimize, customize, cover letters customize. Shut up. Do you not think we have tried everything? Do you not think applying for work is a full-time job? Especially when you are interviewing or attempting to interview with multiple places at the same time, okay? It's dehumanizing, and it's physiologically and psychospiritually exhausting.
I've never heard that term before, psycho-spiritually exhausting, but I'll let her continue.
To be unemployed this long. Looking for work.
And I do feel for this woman, obviously. I'm not saying that it's her fault. I'm not saying anything like that, though it could be, we don't know. I'm choosing to believe what she's saying as the truth and the whole truth. But it's tough. It is very tough to go unemployed for that long, especially once you've had that much experience in the workforce. So, not trying to bag on her, but we'll keep listening.
Costs money. I haven't had internet in my home since January of 23 because I can't afford it. So I rely on hotspots from the library, or I have to go to a cafe, which means I have to pay to sit somewhere to job hunt. I have had to miss 3 on-site job interviews over the past 2+ years because I couldn't afford to get to them. Was to answer phones at an acupuncture clinic for 15 to 20 hours, wait for it, a month. You are not crazy. It is that bad. People who have not experienced it will gaslight you. They will insult you. They will disrespect you, even people that love you, because they do not get it. You are competing with people that are more qualified and experienced than you for the same role. Just like people that are less experienced and qualified than me are competing with me for the same role. There is no such thing as an entry-level position anymore. Entry-level now requires multiple years of experience. Doesn't matter if you have degrees in your field. It doesn't matter if you have degrees at all. They don't care. They care if you can tell them what they want to hear.
Okay, she is going off right now, and I do applaud this woman. First, I do want to give her props because most people in her position would just rely on credit to float. She mentioned that she didn't have the internet since 23. Most people would just put that on a credit card just to continue to float. So I have to give this woman props. She seems to be avoiding debt at all costs because she's just straight up saying she can't afford things. So I'll give her that. That is admirable. But the last thing she was saying about competition is extremely important to realize. There is this idea called the proximity principle, which is essentially your opportunities are coming from, or those who are within your personal network, your professional network. Those are what's going to differentiate you from the rest of the pack. Because like she said, you are competing with people from a wide variety of talent. And there can be people with degrees, people without degrees. It does not matter anymore. Entry-level positions do not exist. People just want, like she said, and I do agree with this, the corporate culture does want this. They just want people to conform to their culture. They want people to say the right things. They want people to basically fall in line, right? Now, whether you agree with that or not is up to you. It's your prerogative. It really means something to me because I am not in corporate America. I used to be, and it provided me with a check. That's the best thing I could say about it. It helped me. It did help me grow personally and professionally. The culture itself, though, is not the best, right? And so I think it's important that we begin to recognize that the world is changing, especially the work world. How we engage in work is changing. The best way to guarantee job security in the long run is to be starting something of your own, is to be freelancing, is to be acquiring skills that people can pay you directly for. You need to be asking yourself this question: do you want to be an employee for the rest of your life? Do you want to start at the bottom, which is totally fine, and work your way all the way to the top as far as you can go? Be a vice president, a regional manager, a president even of a corporation. If it is, then you need to do everything you can to get into that culture and to say the right things, to know the right people. That's just how the world works, right? And that's how it will work even if you are not in the corporate culture. Who you know, or I should say this, who knows you will determine how far you go professionally, right? And most people don't know that. And I think that's why people are fed up with the job market. I think that's why people are struggling to find jobs, is because most people's best friends are these. It's just online. And those who have actual friends, those who have actual connections in real life, they go far, they succeed. To give you one example, people that I know that are in sororities or fraternities, they do so much better off professionally than those who are not in those social clubs. And do you want to know why? It's because they have a huge network of people. And typically in those types of networks, there are very affluent people. There are people that are very smart. And so you're afforded opportunities because you took a step and you put yourself out there. That's the main thing I want to communicate in this, is you have to put yourself out there all the time. You cannot rely on sending in job applications to get you jobs in 2025. It's just not going to happen if you're looking for a career that takes you far. Like I said, you could go work in retail, you could work at a restaurant, hotel, whatever, and just be a nice person and maybe you'll get a job. But if you have as much experience as this woman has, PhD candidate, 18 years of experience, you have to know the right people and you have to say the right things. And that's just how the world works. It does show that this is the reason why so many people think the job market is cooked, as young people say. It's because most young people just don't know other people. That's just the reality. And so they cannot leverage any connection to get a job that benefits them in the long run.
Put a finger down if you're laid off and have been applying for jobs for over 2 years. You've applied to hundreds of jobs and tailored your resume to every single one of those applications. You use ChatGPT. You've done courses. You've networked. You've gotten dozens of referrals. You've joined a job search council. You've got a career coach. You've lowered your standards so much that now you only apply to entry-level jobs, even though you have over 10 years of working experience and still don't even get those. So now you work 5 different part-time jobs, barely making $40K a year, live in low-income housing, and now we live in a looming recession and the job market's about to crash and you truly don't know what to do next.
Man, I do feel for these people. I really do. This just came to me, one thing. These people, I hope, know that employers look at your social media accounts. Like, they are stalking you hard when you're applying for positions that are in their company. So putting this on TikTok may not necessarily bode well for your financial future, right? And her name is Unemployed Amanda. So, perhaps the whole point is to make a brand online, which I would encourage. That flows perfectly in what I was going to say at the very end of this video, which is the world of work is shifting. And job security really is a thing of the past. There is so much insecurity within the labor force currently, and we need to be able to navigate that. The employee-employer model is not the only way now. There's ways to make money online. There's ways to help people online. Because ultimately what making money is exchanging your time for a service you can provide somebody. People are beginning to see this, especially young people, and this doesn't just apply to young people, maybe this also applies to millennials, 35 and older, but very much so young people are starting to see that the ideas that were pushed on us by our parents, millennials, about like going to college and getting a degree that allows you to go into the workforce, those are not as stable as they thought they were. And it's not necessarily their fault, because how could they know that things would be as unstable as they currently are? Now it's very much, we have the ability to be entrepreneurs, to make money for ourselves, to create enterprise online or in person. And I encourage everybody to acquire skills that allow you to do that. Just something to consider, because I have been seeing a lot of people quitting their jobs on TikTok just with no backup plan, and I'm going to make a video about that as well. But it just doesn't make sense to me when there is no backup plan. There is no side hustle that they've been working on for the past year that's been bringing in consistent revenue that they can fall back on. It's just, I'm just going to throw caution in the wind, which to me doesn't make sense. It really does not make sense. And so we'll talk about that in another video, but I hope you enjoyed this. Please feel free to like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment below if you are searching for a job and are struggling, or if you can relate to anything that was said, or if you disagree with me. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And until next time, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.